Welcome back to the new world of fantasy football. Episode 27. Paul, how we doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. Is your background because of spooky season or because of your spooked season?
It is because tomorrow, as we're recording this on Wednesday, November 1st, tomorrow's Day of the Dead, which is me. I am actually dead, physically dead. My organs are failing as we speak. I have no fab. I have no good players. It's pretty rough. But when you're dead, there's a freedom to it. I'm like Andre in the league. Like, I'm so happy I'm not in the playoffs. I don't even care.
I think the freedom is the freedom of time, right? Like once you stop caring about football, you're like, oh man, what am I going to do on a Sunday? Will I go to the park? Will I go do some fall activities with my wife? Like there's just time for all these activities now when you're football checked out.
Yeah, except I'm like the classic hard-nosed 70s football coach that's like, I know we're 0-12. We ain't tanking. I still, I have no quit. I crave these wins, and I'm starving. I'm like Dave Chappelle with got any more of them wins? No, I don't, unfortunately.
Well, I guess this kind of counts as the vibe check. We can kind of just transition right into that. That's
you pretty much heard mine, so you're good.
How you very doing? Clear vibes. My vibes are fine. Obviously, my season in our league is going well. I'm kind of pretty firmly in the playoff mix at this point. Obviously, a lot's got to go right between now and then, but things are going solid. Halloween was pretty uneventful. We don't get too many trick-or-treaters up in this beast. But our neighbors across the street go like stupidly all out, like crazy all out. So they kind of shamed me a little bit in that regard. So maybe I'll step my game up next year. Probably not. I am lazy. But spooky season was positive for me because I'm not feeling as spooky about my team. But things in fantasy can change very, very quickly. So trying not to do it for the pod purposes, but I'm knocking on wood as we speak.
Yeah, Halloween was good, man. Got to spend time with the family, not worry about football because there was no games on, and I was just like enjoying my time. But yeah, like Halloween one-uppers, any kind of holiday one-uppers are assholes. Like, you have your life and the things you want to spend your time on and money on. They have theirs. If they choose to do that, more power to you, but leave me alone.
Well, yeah. Well, like the one-upper would be me, though, in this scenario. Like they're just kind of doing what they do. They love to do it. If I chose to like try to steal their thunder and like go all out, which I won't. By the way,
maybe one-upper wasn't the right term. The shamers.
Yeah,
you don't need to shame anybody.
No, neighbor's cool. Invited me over. We had a couple drinks.
That's cool.
It was all good. I was actually impressed. I was impressed by the setup. I still am, even days later. But yeah, man. Week 9
already, man. It goes so fast. We've got like 6 more regular season weeks of fantasy. That's nuts. I said it last week. I'll say it again. The fantasy football, season is very fleeting, and it's bittersweet because there's so much pain that goes along with it. Some people are having great seasons, and if you're enjoying it, great. But oftentimes there's a lot of pain involved, a lot of frustration, and it's supposed to be fun, and I think it is. I still enjoy it, even despite losing.
It's an emotional roller coaster. There are highs and lows, and it's actually that kind of transitions us a little bit into like the topic that we're going to talk about before we preview these games. But it is so easy to get lost in what is really small relative frames of time, right? 3 or 4 weeks, 3 or 4 bad weeks from a player in the grand scheme of their career is nothing, and it's going to be forgotten about. But it can be fucking devastating to your team, to your fantasy team, because the season is so short. short season, long pod. Let's get into it. The guaranteed ease, I didn't have a great one. I kind of went all in on Houston, and they freaking lost to a winless team. So I only got the Kincaid guaranteed E out of that. It happened almost exactly as I thought it would happen. And he just burned the linebacking core for actually quite a few catches. So it's Kincaid's season, it seems like. Andrew, you ended up with a couple, right? You got Gibby.
Yeah, and Taysom Hill with
Yeah,
the rushing touchdown, which I called rushing touchdowns for both of those. So that was a pat on the back. Unfortunately, T. Higgins was a better game, but not in the end zone.
Yeah, and we'll touch on T. Higgins later, but we have new rules for the guaranteed E now. That except for tight end, which I will caveat that to being like a non-top 5 tight end.
No Kelsey, no Hawkinson, no Mark Andrews. I think that's
yeah. Basically, like, which I don't know. For me, I don't know where you're at, but I think Taysom Hill now falls into top 5 plays at tight end.
That's fine. I don't care. I'm not going to call him twice. So,
but we like they just can't be a 1 at that position, right? Like if they're an RB2, if they're a wide receiver 2, fine, we'll do guaranteed E's or whatever. But like people that are RB1 plays, are a little too chalky. But yeah, other than that, as far as the previews from last week, you did get me. But hand up, I did lose the information of exactly what you did get me by. I'm not going to steal any time from.
I know you got me on the Jets Giants, but consolation prize. I got the score right. I did not get the team right.
I was right on that one, but you were right on a couple more. I won't take our listeners' time diving
we'll figure that out later.
Each little thing, but we're gonna keep track of this all season long. So y'all will get a 2-week update on that next week in terms of our score. Who knows ball, right? Let's see. Couple extra things that I just noticed from the weekend. Jahmyr Gibbs fucking blew up again. Good things happen when you give your first round pick more touches.
Who Arthur Smith
would have guessed? Who could have called that?
Yeah.
We've had a lot of quarterback injuries, Andrew.
Yeah,
a fucking tragic amount of quarterback injuries.
Yeah, it's been
into that.
Through 8 weeks, man. I mean, going back to the preseason, I'll hint at a little bit of that, but 8 regular season weeks of football, and holy crap, it's been like over one quarterback injury per week. So it started off just this crazy season. Like, process hasn't really mattered all that much. Pre-draft process, like, you kind of just, a lot of your planning just kind of got blown in your face pretty fast. Like, if you drafted Garrett Wilson, Aaron Rodgers is one of those injuries. Burrow didn't miss any games, but was very hampered for like 3-4 weeks.
Didn't miss any games, but he missed a lot of production.
Yeah, a lot of his production was lower because of that injury. Anthony Richardson, multiple injuries until out for season with the shoulder. We got Deshaun Watson. I don't know, a bunch of injuries.
Injuries.
Could use a good massage right about now. Whatever. Maybe he's just hurt from trying to carry all that guaranteed money. You've got Daniel Jones with the neck. Looks like he's going to be coming back, but he missed 3 games. Tyrod got hurt. I know he's not a starter, but he was the starter for a few weeks for the Giants. Might miss a game or 2, maybe more. We'll see. TBD on that. Justin Fields hurt his thumb. Non-throwing hand.
Just when he was starting to find a groove too.
Yeah,
two good games and then
his was his throwing hand. Sorry, Justin Herbert was the non-throwing hand. He didn't miss any games. Yeah, Fields was starting to rise, really looking really good, actually throwing the ball, which was cool to see. And hurt that thumb. He's been out for going to be 3 games now. I think they already ruled him out. Ryan Tannehill, ankle, 2 weeks and counting. Bryce Young hurt his ankle.
That might have been a good thing for fantasy, though.
What?
him going out and
Tannehill?
removing himself from that offense.
Tannehill?
Yeah.
Yeah. Bryce Young missed a game with an ankle. Jimmy G missed 2 separate times. He missed 1 game with concussion, another game with the back. Now he's going to miss more games with being benched because he sucks. Kirk Cousins, of course, so sad, out for season. And then Matt Stafford is TBD with a fracture in his thumb. So it's been wow. I mean, NFL, it's like they do things to protect quarterbacks, but what I really think the NFL needs to start doing, I don't know, it's not the NFL's fault. It's just crazy right now. There's just such a demand and weaknesses on the O-lines across the league. And that's not all of it. Like Richardson got hurt running.
Yeah, a lot of it's freakish stuff, whacking a dude's helmet.
Yeah, I mean, Burrow's been, that was more of just like a unlucky thing in the preseason. No one was hitting him. But, there's just been lots of injuries to the QB, and it's like it's thrown fantasy for quite a loop because subpar quarterback play lowers that tide a lot for any team. So yeah, that's just something I want to touch on. Like it's been rough. If you've avoided major injuries to your team or just production hits all over the place, then you're getting very, very fortunate.
That's the hard thing. And that's something that I've been pretty lucky in our league about. Obviously DJ Moore has been very affected by Justin Fields, but
yeah,
the reality is my team, again, knocking on wood, hasn't really been affected by these things too much to this point. But it's been all across the league because it's not just a lot of these quarterbacks that got hurt were not like guys that you were going to start really unless you were streaming anyway. But, when you throw the backup quarterback in, you saw it with Bajan. He had a good game where he looked good. They got a little film on him. Then he looks like an undrafted or a very
that actually, sorry, you finish your point and then I'll jump in.
Yeah, I mean, so like you might come in and maybe surprise some people for a game, but at the end of the day, you're usually a backup quarterback for a reason.
Right.
And so, whenever a backup quarterback comes into a game, Vegas knocks the total score way down because they know, and fantasy scores get knocked down, and it nerfs teams. There are teams that get brutalized by this, teams that invest in a stack. Right. Yeah. And so like the stack owners of the Jamar and Joe Burrow coming into the season were, feeling like they were about to go off and they went off the playoff radar. So
yeah, it was looking rough there for a bit. So excuse me. What I'll say is that Tyson Bagent game, he was playing the Raiders. And I would be remiss if we didn't talk about the absolute shit show, which is the Las Vegas Raiders. Everyone got fired. Most people that matter.
Las Vegas trashers.
Yeah, fired. Shout out my guy Antonio Pierce, Super Bowl champion with the Giants, middle linebacker. He is the interim head coach right now, and they're playing the Giants. What do you know? And unfortunately,
revenge game narrative.
Yeah, well, yeah, and the revenge game narrative that's not going to be is Darren Waller got hurt at the perfect time to not play his old team. We knew it was coming. We were just hoping it would maybe one more game you can get through, buddy. Didn't happen. So anyways, this is not as much as it might seem like it. This is not the Andrew Complains About the Giants podcast. So that's really it. If you want to add anything about the Raiders, it's just, to me, they might be the worst run franchise maybe in all of sports, professional sports, major professional sports, but to me, definitely the NFL. And it's been a long time that they've been.
It has been a long time. They were a good team back before either of us was born, but anytime in recent memory, they've been, let's call it what it is. They don't want to talk about it, but they've been a poverty franchise. They're not a poverty franchise in terms of like their owner's actual money or what they're willing to spend, but they've been a poverty franchise in terms of just how they've been operated. We keep talking, maybe we'll do that as an off-season content. We keep kind of talking about that, like a poverty power rank. They're my number one right now, early.
It's hard to not pick them, but
and
yeah.
they have good skill position players. They actually have some skilled players on their team, but all this, it really started getting bad to me with the Mayock era. Like, those drafts were so bad. It set them back for years, where they just
Where is Clayton Farrell now? Where is he? Is he?
Man, is he on the Rams?
We need to research this, but he's not on the team. He was there. He made them I want to say the 4th overall pick in the draft when he was like projected as like a late first. Which, say what you want to say about that, but top 5 is usually pretty spot on.
We shouldn't give the Raiders any more time here. They don't deserve it. But
yeah, you're right.
I don't remember the stat because it was crazy. But literally, I think Josh Jacobs might have been like one of like the only first round pick of like, I think 5 or 6 drafts or something crazy that like even made it to like that even made it on like onto the team after like 3 years. So
yeah, they've been,
you know, the Henry Ruggs of the world and all that. Tough. I'd hate to be a Raiders fan. Before we get into these games, we've already spent a little time kind of commiserating here, but I did want to do a quick exercise. The NFL trade deadline did not really deliver for fantasy football. It almost never does. Like, the McCaffrey trade was really fun last year, but that's usually not like the norm. That's more of the exception.
Yeah.
But in honor of that trade deadline passing and some defensive players, you know, kind of flew around, and there's some points of interest there that we're not going to get into because it's a fantasy football podcast. But I wanted to talk for a minute, Andrew, like if we could take the fantasy in fantasy football and talk through like some trades that you wanted to see for fantasy or you were hoping to see for fantasy within some kind of sort of realm of reality. Like what was kind of like a trade that you kind of like had your fingers crossed about?
So I would say, I wouldn't say it was my fingers crossed, but I would say this is like the Madden trade, you know, that I would do. And it would be the Rams getting Derrick Henry. The Rams have gotten, first of all, their quarterback is a little banged up. Does that really matter for a long-term trade? Maybe not, but they have lived on like they've scored a lot right in the 5 zone. That's why a big reason why Kyren Williams was so hot early on. He's obviously fantastic in that area. They're calling up practice squad players every week. That would solidify their running back. And not only that, there is a other side to that, a byproduct of that, and that's I want to see Tajay Spears get more work because I think he's a fun player and I think he can do a lot. I think, you know, he's kind of a multifaceted player that would produce pretty well for fantasy. So that would have been nice to see that, but nope, it's going to continue to be the log jam of 2 guys over there, and you know, maybe not be all that exciting.
Yeah, it's funny. I like that a lot, and there were Henry rumors flying around right up until the day of when Tennessee said, no, we're not trading him. And it's like, okay.
He turns 30 in January.
Yeah, it's like you're about to be a 30-year-old running back. The team, look, Levis actually looked good, so maybe that was enough to give them a little bit of false hope. But we've seen this kind of story before. I'm not killing the kid. He did look good, but as a rookie quarterback, there's probably some regression coming in his future. And again, getting something for an aging running back that I can't imagine you're going to sign to another deal, but whatever. They just want to run him into the ground and make me sad. That's fine. I actually had Derrick Henry too. I had Derrick Henry to the Ravens. So it sounds like we kind of just both wanted #free Henry. And
yeah,
my reasonings are all the same as yours. Basically, everything that Gus Edwards is now on the Ravens, Derrick Henry would be, but like to a crazy level. I would love to see the thunder and lightning combo, not from two running backs, but to come from a running back and a quarterback. Because what do? You can't.
Oh yeah.
You can't come up on the line on Henry because then Lamar's going to get outside. You can't spy Lamar or Henry's going to kill you.
Yeah, you either choose like, do I try to like pop the tires of this Mack truck, or do I try to actually catch this, quick little Ferrari? He's not
that play.
You know what I mean? Like
really fun.
I mean, the league would be scared of that. So I'll offer another one just because that's kind of doubling down on that. You know what I thought would have been kind of cool? T. Higgins to the Chargers. You got Mike Williams, who's down all year. You've got QJ, who's just not developed yet. And you've got Palmer, who's, I don't know, maybe slightly above average.
Yeah, he's like a replacement level receiver. That would be great.
Yeah. I mean, I think that would be a fun one for Herbert to be able to sling that ball to both those guys. And then you get a big, reliable weapon on the outside. But the Bengals, they have playoff aspirations, so I get that. But it's more, like I said, the Madden trade.
You and I have mind meld because I had the same thing except Devontae Adams. My Devontae Adams thing was literally, they're not going to trade him in division, so KC and the Chargers make the most sense, but like that wouldn't happen. But like to me, Devontae Adams, literally fucking anywhere else that could use a receiver. Just give the man a chance to do something. But I digress. These were our dreams.
Right.
They did not happen because they would be really fun for fantasy, but instead the NFL just hoards their players and it's boring.
Hey, the Giants traded Leonard Williams. It's not really fantasy relevant, but
no, there were some NFL relevant trades for sure, just not fantasy relevant.
Yeah.
Staying on the trade topic and staying a little more fantasy relevant, I thought this would also be a good time to talk through some trade targets. Like this is peak trade season now. The NFL trade deadline is up. The fantasy trade deadline in some leagues, unless you have like a really weird league, is going to be later in the year. I don't really remember when ours is, but I think it's sometime in mid. I think
it's like 11 or 12.
Yeah,
it's right there.
Yeah, so we're coming up on it, right? So this is kind of the time where we have a lot of underperforming players, and we have to decide, okay, is this guy underperforming and is a value, or is this guy just underperforming because this just ain't his year? And you got to take a risk, right? Because a lot of times people want to trade for, like, you hear fantasy analysts all the time talk about, like, this is the time you gotta trade for. I can't even think of like what would be like a good example of this. Trade for CeeDee Lamb. He's going to go off the rest of the year. It's like, yeah, well, dude, CeeDee Lamb has been fine. He's not like the CeeDee Lamb owner is like, yeah, I like CeeDee Lamb too, idiot. You gotta take a little risk to have trades in realistic and competitive leagues. So just wanted to talk through some players that may not be doing it right now, but could be showing some signs that they may be a steal. So Andrew, if you want to start, I can let you roll with it.
Well, I guess I am gonna double down again because it is T. Higgins. I just keep talking about him. I just love my man T so much. Yeah, guy has had a weird season of his quarterback was injured, not playing well. Burrow starts getting healthy, then T gets banged up. So they had a bye week. Then they played the 49ers, and he looked a little bit better. His schedule in the upcoming weeks look pretty good, and his playoff schedule looks really solid. And I think the Bengals offense is just getting back to what we expect them to be. Of course, I don't expect him to be better than Jamar Chase, but if he can at least be like that late second, early third rounder that you drafted, you would be very happy with that. If he ends up like the wide, maybe not ends up, but from this point on, if he's like the wide receiver 12 to 15, you can get him for a good cost right now, and that will absolutely return value.
I completely agree. And just so you people out there know, Andrew doesn't just sit up here talking the talk. He walks the walk too. We had trade talks around T. Higgins that ended up falling apart. So
yeah, and then
don't think he's just out here giving you BS.
And then I traded for him in a different league that we're both in.
Yeah.
So
when he says trade for T. Higgins, he's on there. He's on the train with you. Okay. So I wrote down a few options here. I wasn't really sure which direction necessarily to take it, but I'll actually go with a receiver too. And it's another person that we literally just got done talking about. He didn't get traded to a better situation. It's Davante Adams.
Yeah.
And there's a couple reasons for that for me. Number one, he's Davante freaking Adams. He hasn't forgotten how to be a great receiver. There's going to be a squeaky wheel conversation very soon. He's got a rookie quarterback coming in he's got one job and one job only, and that's to feed the big dog.
Yep.
And his playoff schedule is fucking tasty. So Vegas is probably going to lose a ton of games this year, but I don't think that they're going to get their offense completely shut down in games. I don't have his schedule directly in front of me. I just remember when I did see it, it was a solid one for sure.
Yeah,
but
I'll find it right now. I know I have my methods. Don't worry.
Raced you. Yeah. So after
Okay.
week 13 by Minnesota, Chargers, Kansas City, Indy, and Denver. That, ladies and gentlemen, is a playoff run.
And you know what? The thing about Davante is it's never really mattered the matchup. He really can beat anybody. He's that good of a route runner, and just a technician, and just a hands catcher. Like I mean, I love Davante. I was pounding the table for him in the offseason. Like this guy's not, he's going too low. I guess I was wrong because his situation sucks. But they're benching Jimmy G. And I think that I don't even know, I'm not even going to call it a regime, but just they're filling guys on their coaching staff. I think that they're like, you know what? Let's just feed our studs as much as possible and see what happens.
100%. And negative game scripts abound, which is solid for a great separator like Davante. And so I just think all those things point to him giving very solid production in the back half of the season. And it's a good its timing is everything, right? They looked like shit. Their quarterback just got benched. They've got a rookie starting. And like the coach is fired, like all the vibes are down. You have a frustrated owner, all of these things. So even though, like, yes, these are legit concerns, you are taking a risk. You're going to take a risk no matter what when you trade for somebody, but you can get him for a price that I think is reasonable and worth it for sure.
Yeah. A lot of the trade deadline is about whether it be real football, but more so fantasy football. It's a lot of it is like, if you've ever been a poker player and you played in a tournament, there comes a time where the blinds are rising, your chips are kind of like maybe mid, maybe you're doing well, whatever. But especially if you're kind of like just hovering in that survival range, there comes a point where you say, I got to shove all in. If I'm going to have any chance to actually win this tournament, I got to shove all in. And that's a lot what the trade deadline is, and in fantasy, it's like, I feel I have a shot to win. If I can extract value right now, then I have a chance to win it all. And that's what it's about to me. I'm not happy with second. I always say I'll go for broke trying to take first, even if I end up last.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah, 100%. Again, the man puts his money where his mouth is. Real quick before we preview these games, to kind of finish this thought exercise, what's another guy that like looks like they could be potentially a buy low opportunity that you want to stay away from?
Well, mine might be a little bit crazy because, I'm not going to pretend that I'm blind to like, or like deaf to other fantasy shows. That's a big reason why I'm inspired to do what we're doing now.
Yeah.
But I've heard the name.
Oh, we never listen to fantasy football content.
No,
Come
never.
on.
Tony Pollard, and I've heard his name said 1,000 times, and like, go get Tony Pollard, go get Tony Pollard. I'm worried about Tony Pollard for a couple of reasons. The number one reason I will say, we do see one-hit wonders / like guys who always look good when they have a complimentary role, and then they get thrust into the starting role, and then they're kind of just like average players. I think Madison's a great example of that this year as well. But I worry that that's Tony Pollard, and people like, but he's got a lot of talent. He's fast. He's got good hands, all this stuff. But and that leads me to my second reason. Second reason is I think that the Cowboys kind of committed to being a slow pace, run the ball, and play good defense early on in the season. And then you saw what they did just this past weekend against the Rams.
They opened it up.
They were throwing the ball, and Dak Prescott, I want to say he threw he threw 4 touchdowns. I think that they are like, okay, they're going to start getting back to a more balanced offense. Maybe that helps Tony Pollard, but I don't think it's ever going to really happen. And we're looking at a case of way too high expectations coming in that's leading to disappointment.
Yeah, and ultimately, I don't see him like necessarily being like a bust where he like gets worse than where he's at right now. But I think it just continues where he's a fine RB2, but not the RB1 you really drafted him to be.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I would not go and aggressively make a big trade for him either. And I'm going to give one as well. This one is, you might consider it kind of a weird fade based on the situation right now, but I'll say this because it's been on the front of my mind. Justin Jefferson. He was a guy that for the last like 2 to 3 weeks, I've actually been trying to make some overtures in a league to try to get. And because, I know like the hamstring can linger. It was a risk. He's coming back from injury. There were early reports that he may not play. But I thought this is a buy low opportunity on potentially one of the best players in all of fantasy football and all of real football. And so I was trying to be aggressive from a position of having some early wins on my schedule. But now the Kirko Achilles, that was enough. I've talked about this before. I can deal with one suspect thing. I can't really deal with two. So like now we got an injury concern plus a tanked out offense without their very solid quarterback. And now, Josh Dobbs coming in, I think gives them a little bit of potential life, but yeah, it's a fade now for me. There are probably some managers that are willing to give him up or willing to part with him, but I think there's a reason for that. I think there's a reason they're looking to part for him because the vibes are down.
Yeah, and I think when Jefferson is back and Dobbs is more comfortable in the offense, he's more – I'd see him as a low-end one. Obviously, he's been a top-end – the one for a long time. But maybe he's more of a low-end one.
Right, and fantasy is so unpredictable because that's the thing. Like, he will be a wide receiver one play for maybe the last 2 or 3 weeks of the fantasy season. Do you get a big game? Have you been waiting this whole time? Have you given up assets? And then it just so happens, like every wide receiver, he doesn't have a great game. and you're out of the playoffs,
Well,
just like that.
Happened last year. He got shut down by Jair Alexander.
Right.
In the finals.
It can happen. So
Yeah.
I was into that. Would have been, if we did this episode literally last week, that would have been a trade for me, but it's a fade for me now.
Let's get into these games, man.
Without further ado, we will get into these games. And in the spirit of trying to keep our content a little more streamlined, this is week 9. The must starts are. You know who you're always going to have in your lineup. From now on, we're just going to kind of talk about any debatable questions or any bubble starts potentially. But like, if you don't hear us talk about an Austin Eckler, or if you don't hear us talk about a Christian McCaffrey going forward,
should you chart out? Should I start Jamar Chase this week?
Exactly. Like we did not forget about those players. We did not forget who they are. There's just nothing really to talk about with that, unless there actually is something.
Sure. If there's some kind of injury that might be slowing their production, we'll talk about it. But if it's a healthy stud, they're going to be in your lineup. So there's nothing really to say.
Yes, sir. Let's dive right in.
But with that said, I don't think there's really any studs in this game you have to start. I mean, you're still going to start Derrick Henry.
Tennessee at Pittsburgh, in Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
basically, it's a home pick 'em with a 36.5 over/under. Puke game.
Do you have any desire in any league to pick up and start Will Levis after that performance last week?
I have a desire to pick him up if the cost is not prohibitive, but I don't look. Somebody else might, and you know, this is probably why I miss out on a lot of the pop players at times. If somebody else has the balls to throw a rookie quarterback in there against Tomlin at home, terrible towel game, they're going to show him some different things. They're going to come at him in some different ways. If you have the balls to do that, more power to you. I don't. But I do personally like the juice he gives the offense. I mean, 4 touchdowns is probably as many as freaking Ryan Tannehill's thrown this year. So, like, do I think it's sustainable? No. Do I think it gives the offense a little fucking life? Yeah, I do. I do think it gives breathes a little life into it.
If Nuke plays, are you gonna go ahead and start him?
Nuke plays, he's a start. Because obviously he can always go nuclear, and clearly he's the big dog that gets fed there. But like, he didn't practice today with a toe. That's a little suspect. I know he's been dealing with it.
Play. I think he's gonna.
Well, the game's tomorrow. That's the thing. Like, this is not a normal Wednesday. For
I know, but I just think it's one of those things where he's a veteran. He really doesn't need to practice. And he's like, dude, I'd be doing myself a disservice by practicing today. One more day of rest and recovery, I'll be fine. I think it's more of one of those things.
I agree with that. And just for other veterans that are on rest and all this stuff, like, use the apps. The apps are super easy for you now. Like, it's not how our boomer days used to be, where you had to stay refreshing a stationary computer, but watch it as well. Henry's limited with an ankle also in practice.
And your app will tell you.
Yeah.
You'll get that. So like, that's really it. I'm not starting anybody else. I like Tajay, but he's just not at start level just yet.
Yeah.
He can have a big game or two, won a couple big plays, but he's like super desperation start.
I think why is their rookie receiver just completely? I'm completely blanking on his name right now. I'm freaking stupid.
For Tennessee?
Yeah.
Are you talking about Traylon Burks? I mean, he's not a rookie.
Burks. I don't know why. I was like,
he's a sophomore.
I wanted to say Travis for some reason.
Yeah, he's a sophomore though, man. He's not a rookie.
Sophomore.
It feels that way because he didn't do anything last year, but
right.
Yeah.
No, I meant their young player. But long story short, we don't need to spend any more time on the Tennessee side. He looked like Will Levis was looking his way a little more. If you have a roster spot and you have a speculative bench spot, it might be a good time for a speculation pickup. That's cool. Pretty much it on that. But don't start.
I think that's good advice. The Pittsburgh side. I think Deontay is definitely a start because Pickett just trusts him more than anybody
Bad
else.
secondary, and he gets a ton of volume targets.
Yeah, passing funnel over there in Tennessee. You can start, of course, you can start Pickens. He's always capable of a big player too.
He's also capable of a pseudo goose, so proceed with caution.
There is that, but I don't think that's going to happen against Tennessee. I am not starting Najee. I don't have Najee anywhere, but if I did, I would be doing everything in my power to not start him.
No, you can't. You can't start the running backs. There's no upside to this offense, whether it's Trubisky or Pickett. It doesn't matter. There's not enough upside for a non-talented running back to eat that gets half of the carry. No.
Yeah, so that's it on the Pittsburgh side. It's pretty much those two receivers and sayonara.
Let's pick it, so to speak, for the Pickett game.
You want to go? You go ahead. You want to go first?
Yeah, I'll start it off this one. Damn, this one's tough for me because, like, if I knew the Steelers side was totally healthy, I think that I would actually take them at home. I trust Tomlin more in that regard and his ability to heat up a rookie quarterback, but I don't know. I think I'll take Tennessee here. I don't know if Will Levis is going to have a good game or not, but I know that Pittsburgh isn't going to have a good game on offense. So if they can do enough in the run game to keep TJ Watt off their rookie quarterback's face, yeah, I think a rookie starts with back-to-back wins here.
Okay, I see that, and I raise you Pittsburgh. I just think that Will Levis had a good game where he got to connect on a bunch of bombs. I think that Tomlin's going to coach this defense to the point where they're going to be expecting that, and I think Will Levis is going to make some big mistakes. And something else about the Falcons, why I think he had the opportunity. The Falcons have one of the worst pass rushes in the league. The Steelers have one of the best. I think that's going to really, really make him frustrated and look bad. And turnovers will be had. So I don't think the offense for Steelers need to be that good because they're going to be in some short fields. And I'm going to go ahead and say that Pittsburgh wins by like 5 or 6 points.
Okay.
I give them like 20.
I can see all of it.
20 to 16, 20 to 14, whatever, something like that.
Yeah, I can see all of that. I mean, I think it's going to be a very disgusting, close game. So
yeah, Thursday
really
night goodness. We love it. Moving on.
Yeah,
we got
so much fun. To an actual fun game in Deutschland, yeah.
Hopefully, Mahomes didn't bring his sickness this time. Hopefully, he can not look like complete garbage. But yeah, I mean, KC's easy. You got your studs. Yeah. I'd still start Rashi. I don't know, between bye weeks.
It's a potential shootout. Yeah. I would definitely throw Rashi in there. Start all the KC studs. I think they bounce back from a stinker.
We got a 50-point over under here. Yeah, you can start them.
Well, like I've had the flu before. I know you're feeling a little under the weather now. Like I sure as hell wouldn't be playing a great game of slow pitch adult softball, let alone NFL caliber tackle football. So I think it's a little understandable that Patty had a rough game, even though the timing wasn't great for your team.
Nothing's worked out for that team, but like I said, this is not the Andrew Complains show. So that's really all there is to say. And Miami's easy too.
Yeah, no, both of these are very easy to talk about.
You know, there's a guy who always looks good to me that it's like he's never really a relevant start in Miami, and that's Braxton Berrios. Like I see him and I'm like, dude, this guy always like is reliable. But then I look at his fantasy, he's like, oh, he got like 4 points. He's
a good football player for them. He's just not a fantasy player. We finally had a good Waddle game, which is nice.
That was nice. That was nice.
You know, Jesus, took long enough. I guess Andrew, like when we're picking this game, there's only one question: is can Miami finally prove that they've arrived and beat one of the top dogs in the NFL?
Yeah, so I'll pick this one. Well, who went first? I went first last time. Right?
I went first last time.
You went first. Sorry. Yes. Yeah. Let me go first this time. I'm gonna to answer your question. I'm gonna say no. I think that Kansas City bounces back here. Kansas City, you know, their offense, crazy enough, NFL is, you know, fickle like that. Their offense has been a little shaky all year, but their defense has been really good.
Yeah.
I just think that it was one of those situations where it's not like they got scored on a ton, right? Like it was 21 points, and I'm pretty sure one of those was a very short field. So the fumble. Their defense has been really good, and I think that the explosions of Miami has kind of masked some of their mistakes. I mean, even the Giants had 3 interceptions on Tua. Like, I think that Tua is going to make a couple mistakes in this game, and Patrick Mahomes is going to be a killer because he is going to bounce back in a big way. I think KC takes this one.
Could not agree more. I think Patty has an angry, surgical, big-time game, hits a ton of weapons for a ton of points. I think Miami does score. I don't think Miami just goes out like you know, with a total spanking. But I think that the defense does just enough. Heat Tua up, and he's not the same quarterback. So I think that KC will ultimately be able to score on Miami more than Miami will be able to score on KC. So I'm in agreement with you.
And that moving on, winning the game. Real quick, I want to make a hot take about this game.
Ooh,
my hot take. Okay, definitely start Travis Kelce. Okay, I'll tell you why. Travis Kelce is going to be that dude for Mahomes this week. 3 touchdowns incoming.
You're calling a triple tud.
I'm calling a hat trick for Travis.
Is Taylor going to be in attendance? Because we know that she's the full secret behind his success.
But a lot of tall blonde women will be there.
Oh yeah, you know he likes those.
Yeah.
All right.
3 TDs for Mr. Kelce.
Sorry, Taylor. Trav is going to be partying with Olga and her friends all night.
Olga, Helga, and
all the guys.
Hank. So, anyways, moving on.
We should talk about football. Minnesota at Atlanta. More sadness. More fucking sadness. Atlanta home favorites. -4, 37.5 over under. It's Josh Dobbs time in Mini. You know, I guess really the only debatable topic here is the one that everybody's thinking of. Or excuse me, I guess I'm saying it's Josh Dobbs time, but what I'm hearing
it's not. It's going to be Jalen.
Is it's not Josh Dobbs time yet?
Is Jalen Hall? Is that his name?
Yeah. Yeah.
Not sure how much it matters, but
is Addison still startable? Obviously, TJ Hawk is a start, but like, are we? Yeah.
I don't like it because Falcons, despite what you saw last week, they do have a decent defense and a pretty good secondary. By the way, that first touchdown that Will Levis threw was some booty. That was one of the worst offensive pass interferences I've ever seen in my life that was not called. DeAndre Hopkins literally rips the guy from his neck.
Superstar calls.
Yeah, I was like, dude, that is blatant. But yeah, I think you can still start Addison. It's just you have to just have a lot of very tempered expectations. Like this guy, I don't know if he can get the ball to him. Like obviously not as consistently as Kirk, but it's a little scary.
On the other side of the ball, another like quarterback controversy of sadness. it finally is Heineke time, even though Arthur Smith told us just a couple days ago that he was all in on Ritter. But we know how he feels about his skill position players. But I guess knowing that it's Heineke now, does that make you feel different about the Atlanta skill position players?
I'm just super frustrated with Atlanta skill position players because nothing ever comes easy, and it's inconsistent. I just feel like
Kyle Pitts still can't crack 60% of snaps.
they just have certain packages that he's not in on. I think he's very obviously he's a pass catching guy, but we'll see. I mean, I'm trying to think. Is Heineke going to be the same Heineke that he was in Washington, where he just flung the ball to
the YOLO darts?
I think that Drake is going to be fine. Drake London's going to be just fine. Start him because
he's got a groin, so that's something to watch.
Yeah, that is something to watch. If he's on the field, though, I'm going to play him.
Yeah,
and I'm going to start Bijan, and I'm going to hope that this quarterback, Jalen, dude, we got to find out this guy's name. Jalen Hall.
Dude, it doesn't matter. It's placeholder before Josh Dobbs, which is the placeholder before draft quarterback here.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think I'm with you on all these takes. I really don't have a debate. I'm mostly just sad because this should be a better game for fantasy, and it's not because of coaching incompetence and bad injuries.
I'm gonna make another bold take here in this game. Minnesota running backs, so combined, I'm not gonna say one or the other, are going to get 10 catches in this game for under 30 yards. Just these desperation dump offs are going to go nowhere. I can see that a lot in this game.
Yeah, that looks a whole lot like the Tampa offense. Okay, let's pick this trashy game. You first, I believe.
I'll just pick it. I think we're going to be in agreement here. I got to take Atlanta. I hate Atlanta with a passion. I live in Atlanta. I don't like the city. I don't like the team. I don't like Arthur Smith.
You don't like your fantasy team either, so it kind of just sounds like you don't like your life.
Well, I have some good things in my life. I can't lie.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Shout out to that family.
Oh yeah, they're great. So they keep me going. Yeah, I think Arthur Smith is going to be able to run his game plan here because the offense is just going to absolutely look like ass for Minnesota. And yeah, he's going to be able to just run the ball, and then Young Wei Koo should have 5 field goals, and they'll win.
Atlanta covers.
Yep. All right, move on with this crap.
All right, Hawks at Raven. Battles of the birds.
Battle of the Birds.
Hawks at the Ravens in the Battle of the Birds.
Which bird do you like more?
I'm actually particular to the Raven. They're smart birds. They live a long time. You can actually train them to steal things from people, which is pretty fucking cool. I saw that on the internet one time. And Hawks. I think Hawks are cool if you're like the guy with like the sleeve that trains the hawk and fly and kill mice or whatever and do that whole thing. But I don't know. Quoth the Raven nevermore. I'm a darker soul on the inside.
I'm with you.
I like the Ravens. What about yourself?
I'm with you, man. I love Ravens. I like they very much represent like gothic stuff for me, and I love it. And yeah, I like Edgar Allan Poe. I like
you're
Ravens.
Sitting in a graveyard as we speak.
Yes, there's probably some back there eating my corpse. Well, that'd be vultures, but that might get some scraps.
Our favorite birds are favored in this game by a touchdown at home, 43 over under. We know, who we're majorly going with in this game, but there are a couple of things I wanted to touch on in the Baltimore side, and one of them, the Gus bus.
Yeah.
Are we hopping on the Gus bus?
I mean, I've liked Gus for a long time. I've always kind of wondered. I mean, J.K. Dobbins was their dude, but
yeah,
he's always hurt. I always kind of wonder, why are they so weird about him getting touches? I don't know. I've always liked Gus Edwards, so yeah, I'm very happy to start Gus Edwards and until he gives me a reason not to.
Yeah,
the Ravens offense is moving. Looking good now.
Their offense is moving on the ground, not always through the air. We're going to talk about that too. But yeah, I mean, it's Gus is consistent, and he's never going to completely goose you. The touchdowns are that's going to be a fluky thing week over week, because obviously Lamar is just as capable of punching it in the end zone as he is. But he's been pretty much automatic, 12 to 16, 17 touches. He's got his role. They stay on schedule with their running back carries. So he's a guy that you can definitely throw in that gives you a somewhat safe floor for a flex play, but definitely, I mean, with this O-line and his touchdown upside the last 2 weeks, you got some upside here. All right. So that's a positive that we have here for this game. A potential negative, Andrew, and I wondered this as I was sitting there watching my team lose again. Does Zay Flowers still have upside this year in this offense, or is he just kind of a talented and over-glorified possession receiver?
So here's what I'll say about Zay Jones. I keep doing
Flowers.
that. I've done that 10 times. Zay Flowers. I don't know why. The only Zay that I've been used to saying is Zay Jones.
I think Zay Jones might have higher depth of target than Zay Flowers.
Well, probably, but you don't love that. But I do think that Zay is more than a glorified possession receiver, because the way he was used in college, on Boston College of all teams, he was not just a possession guy. He was a deep threat guy. I think that he can do that.
He has the chops. He can do it.
I think that they had a lot of designed manufactured touches for him that just didn't work out, unfortunately. But I think with those manufactured touches, there's going to be some of those where they're all right, we hit a few nice little crossers and some screens that got us first downs. All right, now we're gonna trick them. Now we're gonna hit them with something deep. I think that we're gonna see something like that pretty soon, but it just didn't work in this last game. I think that he's gonna be just fine.
I think the positive thing with Zay is that they do manufacture touches for him, which you always want for a receiver. They do, he is highly involved in the offense, so his floor is usually pretty safe. But like any receiver that is not Mark Andrews in this offense, you have the possibility to just not get a ton of volume. I like how he comes back to the ball. Lamar kind of does his scramble, roll out. And honestly, despite his reputation, Lamar has not been Lamar hasn't been running to run as much, it seems like, this year. But he will escape the pocket sometimes to pass, which can be helpful. But the Addison-style breakout, I just don't see it for Zay, because just this offense is completely different. The offense is a winning offense, but they win on the ground.
Well, yeah, and it also, they don't need their wide receivers to be massively explosive to score.
Yeah.
Minnesota needed that because they had no run game to speak of.
Defense is bad.
Yeah. Where this is just a different purple wearing team. So, okay. Seahawks.
Hawk side.
You got some questions, right? This is one of those teams where You're still going to start Lockett. You're still going to start DK. You're going to start Walker, even though it might be a little bit more scary right now.
Yeah. Oh, is it Charbonnet season kind of bubbling up here? Like Chardonnay bubbling
No, I think what we're seeing in a lot of different teams with rookies right now, with
He only
rookies.
had 2 less touches than K9.
Yeah, and that's what I think what's happening across the league now is they're rookies who are developing the way they want them to, are getting more trust. And we're going to start seeing those guys. We've already seen some of them. They move at different paces. There's a few that might be busts. There's a few that haven't gotten there yet, and they're getting there. There are a few that have already gotten there. But, getting into week 9 now, all of the preseason, like they've been around the team since what? Mini camp starts like July, something like that. The trust is now starting to get there with a lot of these rookies. And in this case, I think Pete Carroll, they didn't draft Charbonnet in the second round because they didn't like him.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're starting the dream of Ken Walker getting every touchdown is now starting to fade. And I wouldn't start Charbonnet just yet in this matchup unless you're desperate. But just keep looking at those snap counts. They should be closer to 50-50, or maybe not snap counts, but at least touches.
They're evening out. Seattle is a good team. They are kind of honestly closer to what they were last year than I thought they would be. They still have not been as explosive on offense, but speaking of not being as explosive on offense, and kind of maybe that could change, JSN's ascending, Andrew. 2 games. He's had 2 good games. He scored twice. He is heating up. Now, the question is he going to be on fire, or is he going to stay in heating up mode?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the Seahawks are becoming a more difficult team to predict because that consolidation, your favorite word, that we've loved so much in Seattle, because they've added talent and they've drafted well, yeah, it's starting to branch out like that bonsai tree. And it's getting a little bit more confusing. You can start him too, but I think it's just they're kind of all starting to become touchdown dependent guys because they're so spread out.
Yeah, and this isn't Kansas City. This isn't Buffalo. This isn't an offense that's going to put 350 yards in the air. Like, there just isn't that much food to go around and eat. But my personal opinion, I love Tyler Lockett. I don't like – this is not me saying, hey, sell all your Tyler Lockett stock, drop him, whatever. But your same points about Charbonnet are all the same points to me about JSN. They didn't draft him where they drafted him because they don't like him. He is a talented player that we both agreed was a very talented player. We didn't really see a path for him this season specifically, but we did both agree that, hey, this guy should be a big part of this offense going forward. And maybe it'll happen sooner than we thought, right? And so I think if there is someone that is going to more consistently be inconsistent because of JSN, I think it's Tyler Lockett. I still think that.
Yeah.
I just think DK does things that just no one else does. So something to watch for. Not, again, can't really do anything action-wise right now. But, if you're getting those Tyler Lockett trade requests, I might.
Right.
I
would be willing to move him. And then I just want to quickly mention, too, Jake Bobo. Jake Bobo's a guy who's been involved.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, so now we got 4. If you're a Seahawks fan, you're thrilled because you're like,
right.
We've got like 4 legitimate weapons on this offense in the passing game. Noah Fant is kind of like a same version of David Njoku. Like he's fast. He can make a splash play, but he's not really like a focal point. But and neither is Jake Bobo, but he's still a guy who can cannibalize the production of the
You're
other
right.
receivers.
I completely forgot about him, and that's what makes it extra confusing. So if it was only JSN v. Lockett, then I think that would be a pretty linear conversation. But yeah, Bobo has proven to have carved out a role in
They
this
like
offense.
him too.
Not nothing. It's not
They
nothing.
like him too. Look for him to be a late round pick in next year's drafts if anything happens with one of these other receivers. Like it's
Lockett ain't a spring chicken,
no.
These things happen quickly. You age quickly in the NFL.
Right. All right, so let's pick this game.
Yep.
All that being said about the Seahawks and all that, this should be a fun game. I think it will be.
I've got Baltimore at home, and the 6 points is tough. 6 points is tough because that's really a touchdown. So it's one score either way. Who do you have in the game?
I gotta take the Ravens. I just think that they're so hot right now. Like
they're just good. They're a good team. Solid up and down.
They're starting to live up to the offense that people were projecting now. And their defense has been solid throughout the year.
Yeah.
So like their offense is kind of starting to catch up to their defense and maybe even surpass it.
And the Hawks defense has talent, particularly in the secondary. They are talented, but I don't think that they're super mature as a unit right now in terms of like being a great NFL.
They're a momentum squad. They're a momentum squad for sure.
So then my question, Andrew, for a differentiation is, do the Hawks cover?
This is one of the tougher ones with
This line sucks. I would never bet this game.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to bet this game. But you know what? I'm gonna say that the Ravens will beat it.
Okay. Fuck it. Give me the Hawks to cover.
Cool. Make sure you write that down but that's a tough one, man. That's a tough one.
It is. It is intensely tough. Arizona on their third quarterback at Cleveland. 37.5 over under. You love them. You love to see it. The Clayton Tune versus
PJ Walker
show.
Well, so is Deshaun ruled out then? Is that already a thing?
It's not. He's not ruled out, but they like the last thing that I remember seeing was that he might need more rest. In quotes. Now, that could change.
How do Browns fans feel about Deshaun Watson right now?
We got to have our boy back on.
We do.
Let's get Kyle back on.
We do. We need to have him on here. I'm really wondering. I gotta know what the drum beat in Cleveland is about that dude. So
I'd be pissed, dude. Like I never want to say anybody has a fake injury. I hate doing that because like I have no idea what it's like to be a pro athlete at that level. Like he really very well could be hurt, but like again, we've said it 100 times. The fact that he was like medically cleared, but like isn't though, is just it's a bad look.
It really is. Whatever, dude. Let's just talk about Arizona real fast.
I want to fade as much as I can.
Yeah,
in Arizona.
I had this weird vision of DeMarcado like making his day on a couple screen passes.
If Cleveland can be had, it's that way.
Right? Like they get over aggressive on Tune and then a couple dump offs just like
a little dump
nice and he has 75 yards receiving. That's
hope is not a strategy.
That's just my imagination. We still look to avoid all of your Cardinals right now. I mean, of course you can always start Marquise Brown because he's always capable of a big player too. But man, just the Clayton Tune experience, it might get really ugly really fast.
Well, and look, it's not just Clayton Tune. It's Clayton Tune against Cleveland's really really, really strong defense on the road, really low implied point total. Like it's just it's just all bad. Like,
Yeah.
look, if you have to start somebody, you have to start somebody. But I'm fading. I'm personally fading.
Yeah, and it's like and it sucks too because for a Trey McBride truther that I am, like he had a great game last week, and I feel like he's gonna get like 3 points this week.
Yeah, and you know what? Like if you have McBride, hold on.
Yeah.
Kyler should be on the way. I don't understand. Like obviously Arizona probably is still trying to tank to some degree, but like I don't understand why you trade away Josh Dobbs if Kyler Murray isn't coming back.
Dude, here's the thing, man.
To me, Kyler, this is an indication that Kyler will be back.
Go, you can make a short of this too, man. This is what I'm gonna say. Because this is the truth. This is the truth. Front offices tank. Coaches and players do not. That's the way it works. They are going to meaning the front office is going to do some things that is going to they're going to put roadblocks in the way of winning.
Oh,
but
yeah.
They cannot tell their coach, don't win. I mean, they can, but that's not how it works.
They don't. But the scary thing is, though, they might say, hey, Kyler, we want you to be rested and healthy. But I just don't think so. I think they can still lose plenty of games even with Kyler Murray.
Well, they obviously don't. They had a fluke. They had a fluke game where they were able to run the ball all over Dallas.
Yeah.
Other than that, and then they had a great half against the Giants, and the Giants had a miraculous comeback. Like that's the 2 times they've looked good all season.
Yeah. I think, and I think if you want to even sprinkle a little fan fiction in here, I think Zona gets, I think they know that they're going to be in line potentially to draft one of these quarterbacks. They do have a bad enough record to be in that hunt, and I think it happens whether they have Kyler Murray or not. And I think they want to accomplish 2 things. They want to actually measure if he can still be that guy and get an evaluation on him, and they want him to be able to show that he's still healthy because you can still trade a quarterback despite the bad optics, despite some of his problems and limitations as a quarterback, despite the whole Call of Duty thing, despite all these things. You see what the quarterback landscape is in the NFL. Tell me that another team won't send you.
Everyone's looking for
a couple twos for him.
Yeah, everybody's looking for the next guy that they can just completely trust no matter what. And that's what I'll say about tanking. That's the reason players don't tank. It is a business, and what they put on tape is everything.
Yeah.
If a defender who's tanking has a bunch of reps of him missing tackles, that's what another team's going to evaluate him on and be like, dude, this guy cannot freaking tackle. He misses tackles. It's a huge liability. We're not going to sign this guy.
Everybody knows that, though. Everybody knows that. Like, it's like you're a professional.
There are some fans that don't, Paul. There are some like, why are you guys not tanking? Why are you guys not fumbling every play? Like, there are some idiotic football fans out there that just don't get it.
Lizard people, I call them.
So, anyways, we got to talk about this game, fantasy.
Yeah, look, on the Cleveland side, if Massage Watson comes back, the pass catchers are in play for me. If not, they are not for me. You can start Kareem, especially in a good matchup. He's leading the committee and has a nose for the end zone.
Do you know how many snaps he got last week, bud? Kareem Hunt, the snap percentage.
I know he's not. I know he's not even a 50% player, but I do think that from a touch perspective,
35%. But he seems to be the goal line guy, so it's
right. And so it's the end zone looks for me. It's the top matchup, and I just think, I don't know, even at this stage in his career, I just think he's a better player than Jerome Ford.
Yeah, that's
I just think he's he still has a little juice in those legs left.
He's good at what he does. He's kind of like He's a more like a specialist. He is a solid running back who has a nose for the end zone.
Yeah.
And well, teams like that because guess what? That scores some points. So yeah, I mean this matchup.
Ford is flexible in this matchup too. Because I think Cleveland.
Oh yeah, they both are because this field, the way that I'm thinking it's gonna go, and I think most people think it's gonna go, the field is gonna be tilted where Cleveland's gonna be able to have a ton of time of possession. And if it's PJ Walker, especially, it's going to be run as much as possible.
Yeah, we're going to get a steady diet of all of these running backs. But yeah, I'm with you on that, and I think we already kind of picked it, right? Cleveland.
Yeah, dude, it's Cleveland, and I don't care what the number is more.
Yeah, same. Chicago in the Superdome of New Orleans. They're giving Nola 7.5. 41.5 over under. Sounds like still no Fields for Chicago. A bad quarterback plus a bad matchup equals no must starts for me. If you all have the balls to do it, then you know the players to throw in there. I personally do not.
I'm not starting a running back. I mean, tight end, you can start Cole just because tight end.
Yeah.
Yeah. And whatever. It's tight end. That's all I have to say. I'm going to start DJ Moore just because I know he's capable of big plays. He can take a screen to the house. He can, he can beat somebody over the top and get a lucky ball.
You can start him.
Yeah. It's not an excited start, but it's you can start. And that's it on that side. That's it. I'm done with Chicago. Okay.
Nola. Obviously, we're aware of where their offense is. Tay Hill is now in the must-start category because of the red zone work that he gets. Like, I don't care that he doesn't catch a lot of passes. Like, any tight end that gets, like, designed runs that he's very successful at near the end zone can be in my lineup any day.
Why does Taysom Field – I can't say names today. Taysom Hill, when he runs the ball, look like he has a freaking force field around him.
Dude, it's insane. Dude, nobody wants to tackle that guy.
It's so weird.
Literally nobody wants to tackle him.
It's so weird. It's like he's running the ball, and I'm like, all right, well, every time my starting running back gets the ball in this situation, he gets like freaking speared behind the line of scrimmage. I'm like, well, there goes my touchdown opportunity. But Taysom Hill is like, don't come near me, force field.
It's so crazy. I wonder if it's like the formations or his threat that he might pass the ball potentially. Like, I don't know what it is, but dude, it looks fucking easy. It looks so too weird.
Easy. It's like one of the biggest mysteries tonight. An unsolved mystery. Why the fuck does Taysom Hill not get touched? It makes no sense.
Untouched. So that's their like secret weapon in the red zone, which is
great, and he's a tight end.
Yeah, exactly. Which is great for them. But I'll tell you one person that it's not great for. I'm back on this again. Chris Olave. His yards per target has been above 10 one time this year. Rashid Shaheed is their deep threat. Not that he gets a ton of volume, but he is the deep threat guy.
Yeah, he's the one that Carr wants to look for deep, not Olave.
MT and AK take a ton of the underneath stuff too. Obviously, they get a bunch of targets, a bunch of noodle arm targets from Derek Carr. So I guess we need to make a final call here in terms of like when we like anoint players as must starts versus can starts. I got to know, Andrew, are you in or out on Chris Olave this year?
It's so weird, but I am like, I was like most people very in, and now I'm very out. He is more than likely just gonna finish as like a low end wide receiver 2, because he's just what made him so exciting and so special last year. He was getting the juiciest of juice targets down the field, and he's not getting those anymore. He's kind of like this intermediate guy that is not on the same page with his quarterback, and his quarterback's like, all right, where's Kamara 13 times a game? and then he's gonna dump it off to Michael Thomas, and then when he finally decides, hey, this is a good time to go deep, Shaheed is in for it.
And they're winning football games. That's the worst part about it, because
and then the goal line, you feel like you have no shot at scoring a touchdown with the wide receiver because it's Taysom Hill or
AK.
Yeah.
No, it's bad. It's bad. So like, to me, he's always a person that, like, if you need to start him, I understand that you have to start him, but like, we're in agreement here. He's no longer a must start, and for us sad sacks like me that have to start him, it has not been a fun experience because there's just no upside. There's no upside there.
It sucks. It's so weird that one of their best players, who's highly drafted from Ohio State, is like the odd man out. It's really weird. They're a weird team.
Yep. But as weird as they may be, I'm still taking them to win and cover in this game.
Yeah, I mean, the defense is too dominant against a just not up to par quarterback, and just team as in general. Their defense is rough. Their offense is rough. Just Chicago's, bottom five.
Yeah. Chicago's an easy fade until Fields comes back. And by the way, like, still not a great football team, but like they're an easy conversation.
He gives them the X factor to make some big plays.
Exactly.
But you can win a football game with 3 or 4 big plays. That can make the difference, obviously. And Justin Fields makes that possible. Tyson Bagent does not. So, all right, Nola, let's go.
Washington at New England. New England is home favorites, but barely. So, like, a pick 'em. They're a little over a field goal. 41 over under. Washington, honestly, like, low key has actually been a good passing offense. Like, I think that we're now at a point where we can safely say, for fantasy, like, and I say a good passing offense for fantasy.
A volume passing.
Right. So they've been a high volume passing offense. But, like, specifically, as much as they kind of, like, weirdly spread it out, last couple weeks, Terry Mack and Logan have been sneakily consistent for fantasy while their run game is fading. Yeah. And trading away your 2 best defensive linemen sure as hell didn't help matters, right? So they should have to pass it more. I guess
they did that. Happy they did that as a Giants fan.
Yeah. Jeez. Can we trust in Jahan Dotson again?
Hell no. I'm not going to trust that. I am going to speculatively add Jahan Dotson, but that's it.
I'm in the same boat, but I'm a little more bullish on Jahan. I think the talent has always been there, but for whatever reason, he just wasn't really a fixture of the offense. But Curtis Samuel is out, so I think that kind of creates an opportunity for him to reestablish or establish some rapport with Sam Howell. Speaking of Sam Howell, like, I know he's been kind of in streamer territory for a while in the right matchups, but giving Philly a game with some favorable matchups on the docket, is Sam Howell like a rosterable, like, borderline top 12 play at this point?
Rosterable 100%, yeah. I think that Sam Howell's,
given the landscape of quarterback right now,
with all the injuries, thing about Sam Howell, he takes a lot of hits, which means that he's always capable of fumbling the ball.
Yeah.
Throwing
bad picks.
He's kind of like, to me, he's a lot like a Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston can put up big numbers in fantasy because he's throwing the ball a ton, and it doesn't take all that much to make up for the turnover.
His accuracy is not that awful. Like, and that's probably the nicest thing that I've had to say about a Washington quarterback in a long time. His passing, although the decision making can be suspect at times, he doesn't really look terrible.
No, and like I was saying that going into the season, how much I was like, I think we're fading Sam Howell a little too much as a community. Like, I think he can be all right, and he's proven to be all right. I mean, his ranking is going to look a lot better than it should because of all these injured quarterbacks.
Yeah.
In reality, maybe he's closer to like the 14, 15 than like the 8 that he sits at right now.
Yeah.
But
I think he can keep floating these pass catchers. And that's what we care about.
Yeah,
that's what we like to see.
I agree. I expect to see a all-out assault through the air going forward. So, yeah, definitely.
And speaking – go
real
ahead.
Quick, just say some personal lore. The Megala Bowl. I've said it before. I've explained it before. 12-team league.
Yep.
Only 5 bench spots, 2 IR spots. Doesn't really matter too much for me right now. I have David Montgomery in there. But I have Christian McCaffrey, who's on bye. I have Donta Foreman, who I refuse to start in this matchup. I picked up Antonio Gibson just for the 6 or 7 points I might get. So
yeah, sometimes you need.
I had to start him. I have a bunch of people
you
on
need a
bye.
nasty start. I picked up Lat Murray for a nasty start. You're not going to get much. You're hoping for maybe a lucky touchdown. Sometimes
every
you
so
get down
often
and dirty.
Every so often you find something nice in the dumpster. So I had to do that because
he's taken more work from Robinson. Not so much on the ground, but like B-Rob is becoming a lot closer to Dame Pierce than he is closer to anything else, which is not a great running game, pretty much a bunch of scoreless yards. Give me the pass catcher.
Right.
Let's fly through New England. Obviously, Kenny Bourne goes down with an injury. That sucks for him, but it does create a little consolidation in this offense. So
yeah.
Do you have a receiver that you would target in this trash? I've already sworn off the Patriots myself, but I'm just curious for the people.
I'm very intrigued by Demario Douglas, man. I've been trying to pick him up in places, and I think I said it last episode how this guy is starting to rise, and he's got a lot of skill wise, run after the catch wise, Kadarius Toney in him.
Mm-hmm.
Even though Kadarius Toney sucks and he's a knucklehead that doesn't know what to do playing on the field, I think Demario Douglas has the same type of athletic ability, but he's a lot better of a football player. And they need to find a way to get a little bit more explosive. So they want to get the ball in this guy's hands. I am a Ramondre truther. I'm fine starting him. He's got
this is a good matchup for it.
Yeah. But Demario Douglas, man, I feel I like him.
So who you got
in this game? Just because Washington is hapless, I think they're a bit demoralized with those trades. Whatever. I don't know how the team feels. I shouldn't really say that, but there's no doubting.
No one feels good after. No one feels good after a fire sale.
Yeah, but regardless, the talent that has now left the building on that pass rush, I think is going to make a big difference. And they've kind of committed to the tank themselves. So, I'm going to take New England in this game. And, close game, but I'm going to take New England.
Yeah, obviously, I am tempted to take New England at home. Obviously Washington isn't a great team, but I'm going to take the Commies. I want to be different. I need to make a little ground up from last week, but
and you know what I will say?
I just trust them to move the ball and variance their way to maybe stealing one.
Yeah, and that's pretty much what I'm going to say with that too. Is they do find a way to stay in pretty much every game.
If you stay in a game with Philly, you gained a little respect in my book.
For sure. Okay, so nasty start is Antonio Gibson if you're super desperate. Demario Douglas, same deal. I mean, obviously you're starting Terry. You can start Jahan.
Yeah, we
Okay.
we knew about the must starts in this game, and this week with everything that's going on, there may be some nasty starts need to get in there. Tampa Bay at Houston, road dogs to Houston. Damn it, 40 over under. Tampa Bay. They're a really consolidated offense. So, what you got going on there. This is another good matchup for Chad White. This would be an opportunity for the Bucs to establish the run. Obviously, Rashad had a usable fantasy game last week, but it wasn't because of what he did on the ground.
Yeah, it was all catching.
Yeah, it was all catches. So I think they approximate a run game like that again, and I think this is a definitely a startable game for him. Anything on the Tampa side you're looking at, or do you just want to talk Houston?
No, I think you start those three dudes in Tampa, and that's it.
Yeah. CJ seems to be slowing down the last few starts that he's had. RIP to Dame Pierce. I think we might have touched on this before, but
come join me, Dame. There's plenty of talk for you.
You got room for him right next to you. The only real question with Houston is you've called him the war laptop.
The war laptop.
The little tank that can. Is he the little tank that still can? Because it hasn't looked good since he came back.
Yeah, and it's more, I think he's just more of a matchup play because what was floating these pass catchers in Houston was that, hey, CJ Stroud was looking great. He was throwing like 3 touchdowns a game early on. And when that happens and you're getting, 303 in the passing game, well, your receivers look better. Now that they're kind of slowing down and, a game like this, all right, 40-point over under, they're favored. Like, he's a flex play still. You can still play him in the flex. I mean, it's the matchup I think is fine. But yeah, he's becoming a little bit more of a gadget player, not like your traditional receiver, which can still be productive, but it's just there's a lot of variance with that. So
yeah,
he's a flex.
And with Nico taking a lot of touchdowns, opportunities away, it's
and
it's
Dalton
not
Schultz
great.
too. Dalton Schultz is more of a red
Yep.
zone guy than Tank Dell's going to be.
More on that later.
Mm-hmm.
Let's pick this fucker.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with Tampa. Yes, it's homerism. So fucking sue me. I think the game is close enough where I think that's appropriate. I know that Tampa's offense is booty. With Baker and everything else, they're just not going to be a consistently great offense. But I think they can do enough against this defense, and I think their defense can do enough to get a nasty win on the road. They'll get a nasty one. It'll be less than 5 points.
Yeah, I can. The spread is 2.5, so this is basically a pick 'em. I'm gonna go with Houston, man. I think Houston's gonna bounce back.
We have a lot of difference in this in these matchups. I like
there's a lot of close games this week. There's a lot of
gross games.
There's a lot of low spreads, small spreads. So yeah, I just think Houston is going to bounce back, look better in this game, and their defense I think is going to be able to frustrate Baker a good bit. And yeah, I think Houston's going to take this one.
My spread's not small; it's thin.
Looks pretty small to me.
Rams at Green Bay.
Fucking Green Bay, man.
Green Bay is terrible, and they are a very bad football team, and somehow still favored at home.
Vegas does not think that Matt Stafford's going to play then.
No, they do not. And if he doesn't play, then Brett Rapien is going to be raping these pass catchers' value.
Like you said, man, shit changes so fast in fantasy.
I know the Puka and Cup show.
You're on cloud
it got
nine.
canceled.
So there's a team in our league who has both those Rams receivers and Devontae Adams, who is I'm walking on sunshine, for weeks, and now it's like, what are you doing now? Now it's like, how could this happen to me?
And Rel Hendo, by the way.
Yeah. And again, he had Kyron.
Yep.
So
it's things change fast in football, right? And that's why the game theory behind going all in on certain offenses, which actually has happened quite a bit in our league this year, which is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It's good when it's good, and it's bad when it's bad, and it's real bad when it's shit. And I think it's going to be shit this week.
You could, I mean, okay, so this is one of those studs we can talk about since there's a question, but I'm still starting Cup.
Agreed. Cup is always in because he's Cooper Cup. Puka is not in for me because Puka is not Cooper Cup. As much as he's kind of been Cooper Cup light in production, if you take away the quarterback and you have a backup on already a team that was kind of struggling on offense as is, I just don't think there's room for two sheriffs in town, unfortunately, even with this plus matchup with no Rasul Douglas. So
I'll put it this way. I'm starting Cup and I'm starting starting running back here, which I guess is going to be Darrell Henderson.
Yeah, so he's been snapping back and forth from the practice squad to the active roster.
Yeah, because he's been protected. He's been protected for a few weeks. He couldn't get stolen.
Yep.
So it worked out for him, but
he's the leader, quote unquote, of this.
Sure. And then on the Green Bay side is so annoying.
It's rough
because we're expecting, we've seen flashes from Romeo. Well, we've seen not this year really, but last year, albeit with a much better quarterback, Christian Watson have explosive plays. That hasn't happened this year. We've seen Jaden Reed get involved in the passing game and look pretty solid. And their running game is ugly right now.
Yeah.
Regardless of who it is.
You can always throw AJ in there because he's talented, but the whole team looks
a home run threat. He's a home run threat.
Try to stay away. If you have good options, try to stay away. Even look, how many games is Green Bay going to be favored in this year? Probably not a lot. So this might be the opportunity to get a good AJ game, but it's tough to have confidence in this offense, especially with how they spread it out.
So let's do this. Let me ask you.
Mm-hmm.
Pick one Green Bay receiver to start.
Dobbs, because he gets more consistent volume. It is a little touchdown dependent with him since he doesn't get a ton of deep shots, but Dobbs is the answer.
And I can't quit Christian because I just know that he's got 80-yard touchdown potential. Okay, cool. All that being said, if it is Brett Rypien, it sucks. I kind of want to put an asterisk by this one. If it's Brett, I'm taking Green Bay. If it's Stafford,
I've got the same asterisk. So I'm taking Green Bay conditionally.
Yeah.
But if it's Stafford, then that changes everything.
Yeah,
so
I'll take the Rams if Stafford ends up playing.
So it's going to be a wash for us no matter what.
Yeah, whatever.
Sick preview, bro. All right. Indy at Carolina. 44 over. Indy.
So can I give myself that pat on the back for getting that one right? Carolina.
Yeah. I
First
mean,
win, called it.
No, you were right. First win. I mean, Houston was, the team that potentially would do it. I just thought, I don't know. I just thought Houston would be better, but their offense couldn't do shit against this defense. Weird. As far as really things to debate in this game, I I don't know that there really is. I mean, Zach Moss is going to keep being kind of annoying, but JT's actually looked good, and the running game and the pace of play and all that's looked pretty good.
They've been in shootouts, man. It's funny because like
they've been getting in shootouts, and I think this is another. Give me the freaking over in this game.
44? Yeah,
44?
absolutely.
Give me the over.
Smash the over on this. Put your life savings on the over in this game.
So that's the good news. So in the Indies side, sounds like pretty much everybody that you're going to play, you're going to play. Zach is a touchdown dependent flex play too. However, on Carolina, this in theory should be a high scoring game, and in theory should be a pretty decent matchup to go after. But it's RIP Miles Sanders. He's not a startable fantasy player to me.
No, I mean when you get 2 carries for 0 yards, the question is
on top of the bad production all year.
Right. And the question is just, man, is this injury just okay? Let me put it this way. I think the injury isn't as bad as we thought, or it's not a horrible injury, but it's horrible in terms of a running back being able to produce on the field. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think it's murdering Sanders, but just his athletic ability is gone because of this injury. You know, that's kind of what my not doctor.
Yeah, which is really weird because, it's like, so why is he cleared to play and all this stuff? I don't know. But regardless, for fantasy football, you can toss Chubba Wubba in there if you really want to.
Let me ask you this, Paul. Let me ask you this, though. Are you considering Miles Sanders a drop?
I'm not considering it. He is a drop.
Nice. Okay.
Because to me, like, now, am I just rushing to drop him from my team for no reason? No. But, like, if a good player's hanging out on waivers, if Jahan Dotson was on your waivers, if, whatever, like, you got a chance at Zach Charbonnet in a shallow league, whatever, like, dude, go get somebody with some upside. There's no upside for Miles Sanders.
Do you think that he's kind of like that classic landmine drop?
Yes.
So it's almost better.
Someone is going to pick him up because he's Miles Sanders. And because I get it, running backs, like, to get volume for a running back, anybody. I'm still rostering Tyler Allgeier's bum ass, right? So, like, I understand that, you got to just go get a running back. But to me, if your top end of your production is I'm splitting carries in a bad backfield on games where we're usually not going to be favored, no, you can have that. You can have the flex spot start and the potential goose in your lineup. I personally won't. Pick it.
I think Chuba's a start in this game because I think it's going to hit the over, and I like Chuba because he's a threat in the passing game too.
He's a threat in the passing game, and Grover Stewart, I believe, is still fucking suspended, which has been hurting Indy's rush D all year. Give me Indy in this game. It's another homer pick, so like I feel a little compelled to take it. But I also like what Vegas is saying here. Like, I think that Minshew is a turnover machine. I get that. Carolina's defense looked actually pretty good last week, but I'm going to stick with the process that Carolina, even though Indy's not a great team, I think Carolina is a booty team, and I will always pick my teams to clap booty.
That's a good way to put it. So I really don't think Carolina is that bad. I think that they've gotten a lot of, I don't even want to say tough breaks. They've gotten a lot of clutch fails. How do you say that? Like
or just not clutch moments, not
Yeah,
top 10 moments.
having a young quarterback, and yeah, are they like devoid of talent? No, but they're definitely below the average of talent on the team. When Adam Thielen has to be your number one receiver, I love Adam Thielen.
You done fucked up.
We're at the point where, okay, Adam Thielen should not be a number one for a team, but he is right now. You do lack talent on that offense. Dude, I'm not even super confident in this, but just to be different, and I think it's possible. 2 in a row, Carolina.
It's definitely possible. Minshew's propensity to turnovers is going to make anything possible. And you're right. They're pretty talent deficient on the offensive side of the ball, but they're only 2 years removed from being like a really good defense a couple of years ago. So there's still guys on that end.
Not too long ago, they had a draft class where they literally only drafted defensive players.
Right.
Pretty crazy. Okay.
Dallas at Philly.
This will be a fun game to watch.
Not for you, probably, but
one of them has to lose. One of them gets to lose, right?
You're right. One of them has to win, though. Dak's back, or is he? Is this passing offense back?
Yeah, I think that I do. I think that they really have. They've just kind of went away from their passing a little too much. Mike McCarthy, shrimp and grits in there, and it's time to sauce it up. I think that they know that their offense is better when they're getting one of arguably their best offensive player involved in CeeDee Lamb. I mean, I think I don't. Is that even an argument, or is that just true?
No, it's 100% true. And Mike McCarthy, it sounds like, is finally ready to stop being a boring fat bastard and like willing to actually, on the show. Like willing to actually like play some offense instead of trying to play some keep away. Look, I had to kind of reach a little bit, to be honest, Andrew, for something to debate on the Philly side, because there really wasn't much fantasy stuff to debate for Philly.
Yeah.
Obviously, this is a tough matchup, but like, what are you going to do, right? It is what it is. But I will ask a question, because we've had an emergence of some hot names for fantasy tight ends out there lately, like, some the Dalton Kincaids of the world, the Taysom Hills, the Logan Thomas, I guess, kind of is a hot name, even though he's like an older guy. But with all this being said, Dallas Goedert is still capable of good games, but we know who Dallas Goedert is and what his role is in the offense. So if you had to just cut it off, forget the rest of the season, it doesn't happen. You wake up out of a coma, and today is the 2024 fantasy football draft. Is Dallas Goedert still a top 10 tight end?
Jeez, dude. Okay, let me ask this.
Top five. The top five.
Let me ask this question. Do I have the knowledge in this scenario of these rookie phenoms?
So in this scenario, everything that let's take Michael Mayer out of it, because he's been we don't know what's going to happen with him and his quarterback situation, even though he is an exciting player. But let's say that the McBrides, the Kincaids, everybody in the world that the Sam Laportas, right? Let's say we freeze everything, and what we know about them today is the same that we know about them for this upcoming 2024 draft.
I do not want to draft Dallas Goedert in that situation, because I feel like there are going to be young upcoming players in a spot to hit for me to be a real contributor to my fantasy team. I really don't like drafting tight ends. This is why all offseason I talked about Goedert being one of them, but Kittle as well. I don't like drafting guys, especially at tight end, that have the
Third
ability
option,
to
fourth
goose
option.
me. You know, like I just give me somebody that's a little bit more involved and consistent. I don't know. I don't love
No,
a season long boomer bust play.
I don't love George Kittle's draft position this year, or what his draft position was this year, but I like him more than Goddard because I'm asking this question for a reason. I'm not gonna bury the lead because he's not a top 10 tight end for me anymore because
He's not a focal point of the offense.
No, give me the guys that could be a focal point or could be involved in explosive plays. Dallas Goedert is your classic, and he's good at this. He's a good player for them, and they do play him on the line quite a bit when they need an extra blocker. So, like, I'm not saying he's a bad player, but, like, you know, we have actually an influx of some nice young tight ends coming into the league. So, like, don't give me the guy that's just a catch the ball and fall down type of player.
Yeah, there's too much better upside out there for me to like pigeonhole myself into this touchdown dependent guy.
And you're right. I love the way you answered that question. I will not draft Dallas Goedert because in the totality of the season, it's still possible he ends up being a top 10 tight end.
Sure.
But he's not a top 10 tight end play.
Because consistency matters, and you're not going to get that from Dallas Goedert. Let's pick this game, man. We got to move this along.
Yeah. I'm taking Philly. I know it's chalk, but like until Dallas forces me to take them seriously as a true contender and a trustworthy team that wins big games and big moments, these are the games, just like I did last time, that they were in a game like this against San Fran. I'm going to fade them.
Cool. You know, Philly is 3-point favorites at home, so that's basically a pick 'em, right?
Mm-hmm.
Philly is one of those awesome teams that can beat you in so many ways. Dallas's defense can be so dominating, as we know. This is a tough one. I think Philly is still very exploitable in their secondary, and I think Dak's going to be slinging that ball, and their defense is going to be playing well enough to cause some mistakes. I'm actually going to take the upset. I'm going to take Dallas in this game.
My man. I like it. It all can happen, dude. It's football. You know, like Philly isn't going to win every game. They're going to lose some. And by the way, if that happens, then I'm back in on Dallas in terms of like being a true contender.
Yeah.
Because you got to beat contenders to be a contender.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, another disgusting game on the docket. Giants at Vegas. We've actually spent. I think we can actually skim through this a bit because we spent some time dumping on Vegas earlier. Obviously, a low over under at 37.5. It's basically a home pick 'em. No Waller, womp womp. That sucks. Danny Jones is back, which that's single clap worthy. Garoppolo's been benched for Vegas. It's a fucking mess over there. Go with Adams and Jones because they're the dogs on that team, and wait to see how the rest of it shakes out. Is there anything to talk about in this game, Andrew?
Not really. Who'd you say? Adams and who?
Oh, fuck.
You meant Jacobs.
Jacobs. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm getting tired.
Yeah,
dude.
yeah. Adams and Jacobs. Dude, not really. Like the only start on the Giants side is Saquon, and that's it.
Couldn't agree more. It was Waller, but sadness.
Yeah.
Give me the Giants here. I'll jump on the homer train with you.
Okay. Man, this is a tough one for me.
Really?
Because if it was still Josh McDaniels, I would say the Giants.
The lead is gone.
And because it's Antonio Pierce, I wonder.
You can see the narrative.
I wonder if
right
this
now.
offense,
the script writers.
this offense is just going to say fuck this shit and just play fast and loose. And our offense is what it is. I mean, it's like
It's not good.
Like 11 points a game or something they're averaging. It's the worst.
And in theory, which it hasn't been in practice, but in theory, this is a good pass rush.
I mean,
It hasn't been like that. In the last
they got one dominant guy, but sometimes that's all it takes.
Yeah.
Dude, I guess I'm gonna take Las Vegas, man.
Fading your own team. I love it.
I mean, I want to be honest about my take and not just be a homer. Like, yeah, I mean, it could go either way. This is obviously a very small spread, but
look, I'm in agreement with you, but
Giants have been finding ways to lose games. They proved that a few times in a row.
I mean, dude, like, you think it doesn't feel disgusting to me for picking the Giants, but I will say this about the Giants. First of all, the fact that Daniel Jones is back, I wonder if that's like almost a net negative on the offense versus a net positive.
It's not. It's not.
But yeah, they're not starting Danny DeVito, which is
yeah.
Thank God. You know, I will say this for the Giants. Vegas is a dumpster fire. Yes, they've purged the dumpster fire, but it's still a burnt forest. I think that the Giants, if they're capable of winning any kind of game, they're capable of winning a shit-slinging 37.5 over-under.
Yeah, they are.
Like if it's a shit-slinging game
against the Jets, but they shot themselves in the foot.
Yeah, but I think Vegas is better. I think Vegas is better at shooting themselves in the foot. Like, remember that South Park episode?
Yes,
where,
Denver.
Like, the baseball teams
they're
were
both
trying to lose.
Yeah. Dude, I know.
I think Vegas is elite at doing that.
We got our picks. Buffalo at Cincy.
Thank God. Finally a real fucking
pick 'em. 48.5. I mean, Cincy's favored at home, 2.5. So, dude, Buffalo, we already know who you're starting.
Yep. Well, and now enter in a new must start. Kincaid season.
Absolutely. Yes. Get him in your lineup. And the question really here is Kincaid going to really hurt Gabe? Do you think that's
well? He didn't last week.
No?
I think he hurts. Is it Shakir?
Yeah,
the guy that was running a lot of slot for them.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I think we talked about this before with Tampa. Like, we are pretty damn bad against athletic tight ends or like anybody that like we really have to like that is a coverage problem in the middle of the field. So that could be part of the case. But honestly, does he hurt Gabe Davis? I don't see it that way because I don't see Gabe Davis as a weekly locked-in start every week. Like, Gabe's role in the offense has kind of always just been, hey, if we need a big play, we'll look for you down the field. Like, if they're over covering on Diggs, we'll look for you. But like, I don't see Gabe as having like a huge target share in this offense. Like, I think if he's taking target shares from anybody, it's from the slot receivers and from the running backs, and I think he will. Yeah. I think he will take targets there.
Yeah, I could see that. You're good starting James Cook in this game?
Yeah, I'm fine. Like, I'm always fine with starting James Cook, just understanding that you probably won't get a touchdown. That's just the reality of the situation.
He's pretty much a carbon copy of Rachaad White.
Yeah, well, and for a different reason. I think he's a talented player, just doesn't get a ton of volume.
Yeah.
He gets
vultured. He gets vultured in the goal line too. That sucks. But now Lenny's in town. But I don't know if he's going to start.
I'm not worried about Uncle Lenny's fat ass. It looks like Cincy's back.
Yeah.
But
play him.
I think we sort of already talked about this, so I think we'll skip it. But this is something that I'm looking for in this game. Is T really back? He got 69 yards last week. Nice. I want to see a good T. Higgins game because that's gonna signal that this offense is fully back and firing on all cylinders, not just the Joe to Jamar show.
Yeah, and like I'm not going to make him my official guaranteed, but I feel very confident that T. Higgins is going to score this week because Buffalo's secondary is a little been rough. They've been banged up.
Yeah. Well, that's why they went out and got Douglas, right?
Yeah.
All right, let's pick this thing.
Yeah, man. Like you said, since he's back, they're going to win this game.
I hate picking against my third team now, I guess. Like I've become a Buffalo fan too, like over the last couple of years.
You just pick a few teams that you hate, and then you're a fan of all the other ones.
Yeah. My hate, by the way, for those of you who don't know me, I hate stronger than I love. Yeah, I think give me Cincy at home, like for all those same reasons. I think Buffalo really misses Milano and the rest of their boys on defense. Like, if this was a fully healthy Buffalo team, I think it'd be a tough task. And I think they figured some things out on offense, but I just think Cincy out offenses them at home. So
Yeah,
I
and I
think
want to say
we're the same.
and a rematch of the DeMar Hamlin game.
Yeah.
Let's hope they finish this one. I think they will. Thank you for putting this game on Sunday night. It should be a really fun game. Some offense is going to happen.
God, I'm tired of these bad prime times. Like finally we got a good one here.
Yeah, and the next game going forward, I think might be pretty good too because both these teams, that being the Chargers at New Jersey, the Jersey Jets.
Jersey Jets. They really should change the name. That rolls off the tongue better.
Right.
41 and a half over under. And Chargers are road favorites here. So
yeah, Chargers road favorites. And I think these are two teams that just play in close games and they make a lot of mistakes. And it's over under 41. Okay, 41 and a half. Not bad. Of course you're going to be starting Keenan. But how about Palmer? Because the Jets' passing defense is been fantastic. They're the number one passing defense in the league.
Palmer is not fantastic. I'm looking elsewhere, and especially because Palmer's banged up too. That's the thing. So
yeah,
it'd be one thing if he was like fully healthy, but no.
You got to check his practice stuff because it being a Monday night game makes it even more risky.
Yeah.
But I think he's a flex guy. I think he can still be started. You're just not happy about it. The Jets side.
Yeah, I really, peeling back the curtain here. I do the pre-production. I'm the pre-producer. And I really couldn't think of anything to talk about for the damn Jets because it's the same two guys every fucking week. There's really nothing else to be discussed. So I guess the only thing I'm kind of just curious about in my mind is, does G. Willie get in the end zone for the first time since week 2? Like can we, even if it's not a formal guarantee, what's your gut feeling there?
I think he's gonna break one off. I think he's gonna take one of these slant routes and score. I think it's time for him. He's too talented, man, and as much as Zach holds him back, he's good enough to make something happen against a crappy secondary. My other question is, you're more than likely, unless you play in like a 6-team league, you're gonna start Justin Herbert. But I would temper expectations, man. They have made a lot of very good quarterbacks look not so good. The Jets,
100%. In fact, Josh Allen's only non-QB1 finish was against these Jets. So
Mahomes didn't look good against them. Jalen Hurts threw a pick 6 to essentially end the game. I mean the Jets play up to good quarterbacks.
I've had a fantasy manager essentially pretty much refuse to trade me Tua because of this matchup with Justin Herbert and them just wanting one more week to stream their guy. But I digress. That's no one's here to listen to my sad teams. I'm having trouble picking this game. I'm not gonna lie to you. Because you got to think that J Herb would be able to like figure it out and outduel Zach, but the defense, I don't know.
This is a tough one. I'll just go ahead and pick it since I have mine. I am going to take the Chargers. The Jets are having a fun season where after Rodgers went down, the expectations obviously went right down with them. But, they're sitting at what are they? 4-3.
4-3.
4-3.
They're playing with house money.
And they've won 3 in a row. That seems a little too good to be true for Zach Wilson, a Zach Wilson-led team.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. This is going to be one of those games where I think the defense is going to keep it to a one possession game. It's going to come down to the last thing. And look, there's always a chance that the Jets pull it out because they're a good team everywhere but the quarterback. But yeah, it's partially a bitch move just to like not lose this matchup, but I have a tendency to agree with you. I think it comes down to one play where Herbert's able to do it and Zach isn't.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I am too, even though the defenses are not nearly the same. All right, so that's the games. Our guarantees. Who you got, Paul?
My first guaranteed is running back Aaron Jones. And I have no analysis whatsoever except I think he's just due. I think he's due for one.
Yeah, it's about time he breaks a long enough touchdown and gets free. Mine is going to be insert running back from the Browns here. But no, I'm actually going to take Jerome Ford. I think Jerome Ford is going to –
That's a good bet.
I think he's going to take like a 30, 40-yard to the house this week.
Built Ford tough.
Built Ford tough. My wide receiver. I'm bold, man. I'm bold tonight. So you'll probably already know because it's the Thursday night. For the first time in 2 years, Deontay Johnson gets into the end zone.
Oh my God. Yo. If you sweep your guarantees, man, I'll break out the good whiskey for you when you come down here.
All right, who you got at wide receiver?
Olave. We just trashed on this whole situation, and nothing's changing about the situation. It's not going to necessarily get any better. But, dude, he's talented. It's a great matchup. And honestly, he's playing me this week. So I just feel like this is the week that he just breaks a nasty one off.
That is how it seems to go, right? Yes, he's absolutely still capable. It's just his situation makes it a lot less likely, but that's why it's a good guaranteed pick. All right. Who's your tight end? You go first.
I'm going with the neo-Nazi. Dalton Schultz. It's the process. It's Tampa Bay. It's a tight end. This is the way.
Okay. And sometimes that's all the analysis you need. Now, you think that's nasty. I am going with the New York Giants tight end.
Oh
Daniel Bellinger. Daniel Bellinger does have chemistry with Daniel Jones.
That's right.
And they've had a way of being on the same page and drawing up some plays for him in the end zone. They drew their playbook up to add some tight end plays because Darren Waller, but now he's not going to be able to play. And I think that it's just going to happen. I think Daniel Bellinger is gonna get one.
Well, I think
Don't
mean,
start
look,
him.
you got some spicy guarantees,
He's
brother.
going to get
At least
2 catches for like 16 yards, but one of them's going to be a touchdown.
Literally, he would have as many touchdowns as Darren Waller on the season.
Sounds like the Giants.
After 1 week. Oh, man. Well, if you're still here and you're still hearing my voice, then
You get a
that
reward.
means you're part of the home team. And that means you're here for the home team hustle. So without further ado, I'm not going to dance around here. We're going to get right into it, dry and doggy style. The home team hustle. The first matchup was an absolute snoozer, with Josh Allen starting the Chief off right and never looking back. Kashek may be king of the softball field, but in the world of fake football, I hit the dongs around here. 117 to 87. In the next matchup was another snoozer loser. LJ got absolutely daddied by Subu's #1 squad in the league. He got no help from the Rams triple team this time, and he got goosed by Sanders. 135 to 85 was the score. Enjoy your little baby chug, baby. In the heavyweight battle of the week, we had Jer and Tyler trading haymaker after haymaker from the Philly cheese stacks and the Cincy chili bombs. But in the end, Ty was victorious with the highest total of the week, 141 to 125. From the battle of the week to the battle of the week, BJ finally gets back in the win column, taking down Chris. Dame and Donta didn't get it done for Miro's squad, who's now staring down the barrel of back-to-back sacks. Juan wins, 119 to 110. Another week, another sick loss for Cheesy. Patty got the flu, and Andrew got the screw. Bobo's Jack Stacks did just enough to send Andrew into the toilet and the graveyard. 107 to 101. Those were the matchups. Another week. Keep fighting, bros.
And these are the breaks because my team sucks. A Jack's stack of Trevor Lawrence to ETN on a huge pass absolutely destroyed me. I'm sitting there.
That was the murder shot.
I'm sitting there thinking I've got my bar on sleeper is green, and I'm like, dude, actually I might win a matchup, and then that play happens, and it's like, pew, fuck you. I was like, mother.
And I love how Bobby didn't even need Jacoby Myers to do anything, and he didn't do anything, but was just in the lineup just to troll you.
Another sick, disgusting loss with a sick player in my lineup that did terrible. So, anyways, I'm not gonna complain all day. Peace out, y'all. Stay real in the new world of fantasy football, and good luck in your matchups.
Peace it out, peeps. Like, subscribe, comment, do all the things. But most importantly, keep on keeping on. It's only fantasy football. Later, haters.
Peace.